Today I'm going to do the political compass test, so everybody here can have kind of a feel of where I stand politically, what are my views. I'm going to go through the test, I'm going to explain my answers, and hopefully you guys agree with me. Okay, so the test here, it gives all sorts of questions, and you have to give an answer if you agree, disagree, strongly agree, or strongly disagree. So it says, the first page, a few propositions to start with, concerning no less how you see the country and the world. Okay. If economic globalization is inevitable, it should primarily serve humanity rather than the interests of transnational corporations. I disagree because economic globalization is not inevitable. It doesn't have to happen, so their premise is wrong. I disagree with the question, not necessarily with the proposition. I agree that if it is inevitable, then I agree it should serve the interests of humanity. However, it's not necessarily inevitable, but it states it as if it is inevitable. Next question, I'd always support my country whether it was right or wrong. Yes, I support my country, even though I might not support the government. Then this is a realization I had a little while ago, is that conservatives, we like the country, but we dislike the government. Liberals, they like the government, but they dislike the country. So I'd always support my country, but I would want it to be better. Even if my government is doing something wrong, I would want my country to do good. I would still support my country. No one chooses their country of birth, so it's foolish to be proud of it. No, I disagree. I think that if you're born in America and if you're born in a good country, you should have some pride for the country, the nation, what the country stands for. If you're born in a horrible country like Somalia, then I understand why you wouldn't. But in most countries that are good, I don't think it is foolish to be proud of a country. Our race has many superior qualities compared with other races. Yes, every race is different. There are certain aspects of races that are different. Doesn't mean that one is morally superior to another or that you can discriminate or anything. But yes, certain races do have different qualities. Right? Asians are pretty smart. On average, their IQ is much higher. Right? And black people, if you look at them, they on average are better at athletics such as football, basketball. You see them like the NBA, NFL, almost entirely black. So yes, every race has something that they're better at and something that they're not as good at. And so yes, our race does have superior qualities, although it implies that I have the same race as whoever is making this test. The only way to guarantee that is if we're saying the human race. So yes, the human race has many superior qualities compared to animals. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. No, not necessarily. In World War II, the enemy of America was Hitler and Nazi Germany, but the enemy of Nazi Germany was Soviet Union, and they're not our friends. We don't like the communists, so I disagree. We may have shared goals for the moment, but they're not my friend. Military that defies international law is sometimes justified. Yes, because international law is fake, doesn't exist. International law, the only way in which international law is binding is if two countries sign a treaty. Sometimes more than two countries. But unless it's a treaty, then international law is fake. Anything the UN comes up with is fake unless all countries involved sign on to it legislatively. There is now a worrying fusion of information and entertainment. Yes, but there has always been a fusion of information and entertainment, so I'll agree, but not strongly agree. Okay, economy. People are ultimately divided more by class than nationality. No, I disagree. And World War I proved that. It was a conflict among different nations and not between classes, showed that people of all classes cared more about their country than their class. Controlling inflation is more important than controlling unemployment. Yes, you can't control unemployment. The only way to control unemployment is to take control of the workforce. And even then, you get something like North Korea, where yeah, they have really low unemployment. Doesn't mean that anybody's doing well. Controlling inflation is more manageable. And it really does better because it doesn't matter if you're employed if everything is more expensive. So it's better to control inflation. Because corporations cannot be trusted to voluntarily protect the environment, they require regulation. I disagree. Corporations can be trusted voluntarily a lot of the times. Now, there is room for some regulation, but I don't think that corporations cannot be trusted. So I'm going to go disagree because I don't necessarily think that corporations can't be trusted. For me, each according to his ability, to each according to his need is a fundamentally good idea. No, it is not. I disagree, strongly disagree, because the whole point of that is to take from people what they produce and give them what they need. So that discourages people from working harder, and that stops innovation and the such. The freer the market, the freer the people. Generally speaking, yes. However, there should be things that should not be allowed, such as prostitution, certain kinds of drugs. So generally speaking, yes, the freer the market, the freer the people. It is a sad reflection on our society that something as basic as drinking water is now a bottled branded consumer product. No, it is not. I like being able to buy water in a bottle, and I know that it's clean water, and I know that I'm not going to get all sorts of diseases like they used to back in the day when we didn't have clean water. And even in a lot of places nowadays, in third world countries, they don't have clean water. No, I'd prefer having clean water that costs money than free dirty water. Land shouldn't be a commodity to be bought and sold. I disagree. I want to buy land. Everybody should want to buy land. Land is one of the integral parts of freedom, owning your own property. I do think that land should be a commodity to be bought and sold. It is regrettable that many personal fortunes are made by people who simply manipulate money and contribute nothing to society. That is false. People who manipulate money do contribute to society, and I assume it's talking about stock markets and investing. If people invest into a company, they do support society because that money is then used by the society in order to grow the company and to provide a bigger and a better service or product. So I disagree with the premise, but I would say it's not regrettable because it's false. Protectionism is sometimes necessary in trade. Yes. I could go into this a little bit. Basically, we should not want a totally free market. We should prioritize American businesses rather than Chinese businesses, and so on. So yeah, protectionism is sometimes necessary. The only social responsibility of a company should be to deliver a profit to its shareholders. No, because that's a financial responsibility. Social responsibility, I would say certain companies, they do have a responsibility not to cheat, not to steal, and so on. So I disagree. However, yes, primarily the purpose of a company is to deliver a profit. The rich are too highly taxed. No, the rich pay I don't know if it's a majority, but definitely a plurality of taxes in the United States. Those with the ability should have access to higher standards of medical care. Yes, because a better doctor is going to charge more money for his services. It's basic capitalism, yes. Government should penalize businesses that mislead the public. Yes, if you lie, you should be penalized, right? That's fake marketing, like saying, oh yeah, our product is this and this and this, and it's really good, and then it's actually a crappy product, and they lied. I do think there should be some penalization, or like if they say that it's sugar-free and they do put sugar in it, then yeah, that's lying and they should be punished. A genuinely free market requires restrictions and the ability of predator multinationals to create monopolies. Yes, I have heard the opinion that without government intervention, it's impossible for monopolies to form, but I haven't looked too much into that. So for now, I'm going to say yes, certain restrictions should exist to prevent monopolies from forming. Personal social values. Abortion, when the woman's life is not threatened, should always be illegal. Yes, it is murder. All authority should be questioned. No. Well, yes, doesn't necessarily mean that you shouldn't obey. If there is a law that God gives in the Bible, you should question it. You should want to know why that law exists. But at the end of the day, you should still follow it. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. Generally, yes, that doesn't necessarily mean that if somebody gouges your eye out, you have to gouge their eye out. Biblically, the penalty for something like that is to pay a fine of money. But what it means is basically the punishment should fit the crime. So I agree. Taxpayers should not be expected to prop up any theaters or museums that cannot survive on commercial basis. I disagree. I think that a government and a society should want to promote its culture and history, at the very least throughout its own country, if not throughout other countries. Schools should not make classroom attendance compulsory. So here it says schools, doesn't necessarily say public schools. It could be a private charter school. So I would say they should, because a school, if you're teaching students, you should make it so that students have to be there or else they're kicked out. Right? It doesn't necessarily mean that I think the government should force kids to go to public school. I disagree with that. All people have their rights, but it's better for all of us that different sorts of people should keep to their own kind. That's basically trying to say, oh, what, are you a racist? I think that in terms of culture, it's, we don't want people with all sorts of different cultures to come over here and change our culture. We don't want a demographic change. Then again, like if there's a Muslim here, like, okay, whatever, you have your rights, whatever, just don't force Sharia law on the rest of us. Good parents sometimes have to spank their children. I disagree, but I don't strongly disagree. I think parents can be good, either with spanking or without. I don't think it necessarily matters whether they spank. Well, sometimes parents do, and sometimes parents don't. Good parents can spank, good parents can not spank. Spanking is not the deciding factor of whether a parent is a good parent. It's natural for children to keep some secrets from the parents. Yes, that doesn't mean that it's good. Just because it's natural doesn't mean it's good. Possessing marijuana for personal use should not be a criminal offense. I think it should be up to the states. I think if it's for medical use, for personal medical use, it probably shouldn't be illegal. I would say agree, but not strongly agree. The prime function of schooling should be to equip the future generation to find jobs. I agree. I think moral education should come from the families and society, not necessarily the schooling. People with serious inheritable diseases should not be allowed to reproduce. I disagree. It's only a matter of time. Once you say yes, it's only a matter of time before people start doing eugenics, saying, oh yeah, certain things like maybe Jews in Germany saying, oh yeah, that's the inheritable disability. The Jews were rats, you gotta get rid of them. And all sorts of genocide, right? The Hutsis and the Tutsis in Africa, and the Bosnian genocide, all sorts of genocide. A lot of it starts with labeling one group of people as shouldn't be allowed to reproduce. The most important thing for children to learn is to accept discipline. It's important, very important, but not the most important thing. I don't think it's the most important, so I'll agree, but slightly disagree. There is no savage and civilized people, there are only different cultures. No, I strongly disagree. There are very savage and very civilized peoples. There is a society that murders babies is very savage. A society that barely wears any clothes and lives in dung huts is not very civilized. Doesn't mean that they're not people and don't deserve rights, just there are civilized cultures and there are uncivilized cultures. Those who are able to work and refuse the opportunity should not expect society's support. Yes, strongly agree. If you don't want to work but are able to work, then you shouldn't be living for free. That's the thing as a free lunch. When you are troubled, it's better not to think about it but to keep busy with more cheerful things. No, I think you should solve your problems. First-generation immigrants can never be fully integrated within their new country. I'm gonna slightly agree, because when someone immigrates to a country, if they come from a different culture and maybe a different language, it's hard. A lot of times they don't learn the language as properly as a native-born citizen. And so I think probably by the second or third generation, people can be integrated within the society. But first generation, I think it's kind of hard. I think in cases there it can happen, but generally speaking, it usually isn't a full integration. What's good for the most successful corporations is almost ultimately good for all of us. No, I strongly disagree. What's good for a lot of corporations is for us to be consumers and be in a consumerist culture. That's not good for us. We're basically slaves to their services and products. No broadcasting institution, however independent its content, should receive public funding. I agree. I don't think the government should fund broadcasting institutions. Okay, we're halfway through. And how you see the wider society says, okay, our civil liberties are being excessively curbed in the name of counterterrorism. Yes, I agree. We should not be spied on by the government. A significant advantage of a one-party state is that it avoids all the arguments that delay progress in a democratic political system. I agree that that particular thing is an advantage. It doesn't necessarily mean that a one-party state is better than a democratic system. Not to say that democracy is a good thing. I have mixed feelings about democracy. However, one advantage of a one-party state is that there is less disagreements and things can happen quicker. Although the electronic age makes official surveillance easier, only wrongdoers need to be worried. No, how long is it until they label conservatism to be wrongdoing? So I disagree. The death penalty should be an option for the most serious crimes. Yes, if you commit murder, you should be executed. If you rape, you should be executed. Very easy choice there. In a civilized society, one must always have people above to be obeyed and people below to be commanded. I would say agree, but very slightly agree. There should be some form of hierarchy. The people on the bottom should generally obey the people at the top. If the people at the top give bad orders, then they shouldn't be obeyed, right? But generally speaking, there should be some form of hierarchy. Abstract art that doesn't represent anything shouldn't be considered art at all. I agree. I feel very strongly about this. I think abstract art is horrible. Maybe a capital offense. No, I'm joking on that one. But still, abstract art, it's not even art. Like, I don't know if you heard, this was a while ago on the news. Some guy sold a banana taped to a canvas for like millions of dollars. Like, that's ridiculous. That's not art. In criminal justice, punishment should be more important than rehabilitation. Yes, I agree. Rehabilitation, it would be nice, but generally, like, you break the social contract, you get punished. That's how it is. It is a waste of time to try to rehabilitate some criminals. Yes, some people don't even waste their time. Kill them. Execute them. If somebody rapes several children and murders them, don't waste your time. Execute him. If he wants to repent, that's between him and God, not for the society. The business person and the manufacturer are more important than the writer and the artist. No, I don't think one is inherently more important than the other. Mothers may have careers, but their first duty is to be homemakers. Yes. If a mother wants to have a career, okay, but only if she can already fulfill her duties as a homemaker. Then if she has extra time and wants to have a job, alright, fine. However, even then, she should not be earning more than the man. The man should be the primary breadwinner. Multinational companies are unethically exploiting the plant genetic resources of developing countries. I assume that's like palm trees and like taking down the Amazon. I would say, I guess, very slightly agree. I don't care too much about this issue. But yeah, we probably shouldn't be cutting down the Amazon and such. Making peace with the establishment is an important aspect of maturity. I disagree. The revolutionaries, right, the founding fathers, they did not make peace with the establishment. They fought against it. They fought a revolution. Sometimes the establishment is rotten and you need to separate from it, or need to fill it with good. I don't think you should make peace with the establishment if the establishment is bad. Okay. Questions on religion. Astrology accurately explains many things. Yes, I do believe that astrology is real. However, most of the quacks who try to sell it are fake. It's a scam. However, I think some people are probably real. Some astrologers are probably legit. It talks about it in the Bible. It doesn't say avoid it because it's fake. It says avoid it. It compromises free will. So I think that astrology is real, but most people pushing it are scam artists. You cannot be moral without being religious. I would agree. I wouldn't strongly agree, because someone, if he's an atheist, then yes, then yeah, he could be a nice person, could be a kind person, doesn't kill, doesn't steal, has morality. However, atheism is worse than idolatry, because with idolatry, at least you're saying that there's some sort of higher power. With atheism, you're saying there is no higher power at all. So atheism is probably worse than idolatry, and idolatry is a sin. So if you're doing something worse than idolatry, then that's pretty bad. Being atheist is a sin, I would assume, based off of idolatry and atheism, the relation between that. So I would say you cannot be perfectly moral without being religious. And again, you could be a moral person who commits a particular sin. There are plenty of people who are generally moral but have some sort of sin that they struggle with. However, if you want to be perfectly moral, you can't be perfectly moral without being religious. Charity is better than social security as a means of helping the genuinely disadvantaged. Yes, strongly agree. The government screwed social security up. We should get rid of it. Some people are naturally unlucky. I don't know. I wouldn't know. I would assume maybe some people, but I don't know. I can't read God's mind. It is important that my child's school instill religious values. Yes, I agree, because it's talking about religious values, not necessarily religion. So religious values could be don't kill, don't steal, there are two genders, things like that. Those are religious values, and schools should instill them. The school shouldn't necessarily say Allah is God, or that Jesus is God, or that Buddha is real, but they should instill religious values. Okay. Sex outside of marriage is usually immoral. Yes, get married, abstinence till marriage. A same-sex couple in a stable, loving relationship should not be excluded from the possibility of child adoption. I disagree. I don't think gay couples should be allowed to adopt. Pornography depicting consenting adults should be illegal for the adult population. No, pornography should be illegal for everybody. It's kind of hard. How are you going to enforce that? I'm not sure, but making it illegal is a good first step. What goes on in private bedroom between consenting adults is no business of the state. I disagree. I do think we should have laws against sodomy, and I think we probably should have laws if there's abuse or something like that. The state should the state should intervene. No one can feel naturally homosexual. I disagree. I think some people probably can feel naturally homosexual. You know, some people are born with inclinations towards certain sins. So doesn't mean you should indulge it, doesn't mean it's good. But some people are born with that struggle, and they should resist it. Gay people should still get married and have children, or if they don't want to do that, they should remain celibate. They should not engage in sodomy. Okay. These days, openness about sex has gone too far. Yes, sex used to be a taboo thing to talk about. Now you see it on the news, you see it on comedy shows, you see it everywhere. I do think it's way too open. I think we should go to Victorian standards about sex, talking about it in public. I don't think it should be a public topic to talk about. Okay, let's see where I stand. So it's gonna show the spectrum, shows the authoritarian right, libertarian left, authoritarian left. You got the authoritarian scale and the left-right economic scale. Right, the economic scale and the social scale. Scrolling down, you've got Saudi Arabia, Singapore, China, North Korea, Uruguay, Switzerland. So I'm right here. People are going to call me a fascist. People are going to call me a racist, all sorts of names. Far-right extremist. Because of my political views. Because they don't think that gays should adopt, and I think that sodomy is evil. But if you look at it, like, I'm not that extreme. Like, I'm right there. I'm surprised that I'm not surprised that I'm more social right than economic right. Not surprised, but I'm surprised that it's so close. I would have thought that it would have been maybe like a 3 here on social, libertarian, and authoritarian. But generally, this is where I stand politically. Keep that in mind for the future. They used to have, on this page, they used to have a scale where they put different political leaders. I don't see it now. But they used to put like Margaret Thatcher and Ronald Reagan here. They put Hitler on the right there. I disagree with that. I think Hitler economically was probably somewhere left, because National Socialism did have some sort of government control of the economy. So again, a lot of these questions were either gotcha questions or questions where the premise was off. So I disagree with some of that. But generally speaking, it's a decent compass to evaluate where you are politically. All of the viewers, you can go ahead and do this. I'm going to put a link in the description. Also, if you just look up political compass test, it's going to be the first thing that pops up on Google, probably. Yeah, I'm signing out.